All right, we're going to go ahead and move on with lesson 3.03, where we're going to be graphing some equations. So this first one, notice, is already in slope-intercept form. It's already solved for y. Okay, so it's in slope-intercept, solve for y. Whoops, when we're in slope-intercept form, there's two things that we can pull out. We can pull out our m, or our slope, and we can pull out our b. Okay, that's our y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b. I'll write all that down. Okay, so here my m, that's what's in front of the x, that's 3. And when we have an integer like that, we put it over 1 to describe the rise over run. And then my b is that constant at the end, and that's going to be my 4. That's my y-intercept. That's where we start. So here, if I go to my graph, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the first point you're going to plot, and you're going to do the same thing in the OHS. You're going to plot that point. And let's see if I can get that. Oh, stop it. Copy. Why is it? And there we go. Okay. Now from that point, we're going to use our slope. It's 3 over 1. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. I'm going to graph that point. And I think it's going to take it away again. You get the gist. Okay, now in the OHS, when you graph your second point, it's going to go ahead and drop that line in for you right away. You can see my line is not that great because I'm doing it by hand on the computer. But the OHS will graph the line and it'll be nice and straight for you after you graph your second point. So just like I did, you graph your y-intercept first. From the y-intercept, use that to graph your second point. Just click on the coordinate where you want to place that next point, and the line will show up for you. Okay, so number 5, it says graph the equation below using the point and slope given in the equation. So this time we're using point slope form. Now you could go ahead and solve this for slope intercept, get it so y is by itself. That's fine, but just know that you can pull out your point and you can pull out the slope from this equation without having to do any rearranging of terms. So this is my general point slope form. Okay, and the 3 parts that you pull out your x and y for your point, and you pull out your slope. So here when I pull the point out, remember it's opposite, the signs are opposite, so this is a positive one in the equation, so it's really going to be a negative 1. And then I have a positive 2, so that's really going to be a negative 2 when I pull it out. So my point is negative 1, 2. So I can go over negative 1 and down 2 and graph that first point. Now my slope is the number in front of the parentheses, the m. In this case, it's 1 over 3. So from that point, I'm going to go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3. Now I have my second point. Again, when you're doing this in the OHS, you're going to do exactly that. You're going to graph the point. Then you're going to take from your point, you're going to graph your slope. Drop that second point in. You just click on the coordinate where you want to put your point, and the OHS will put the line in for you. All right, lastly, we have another equation that we want to graph. I have a little hint here when we're doing this one. It says you won't have this hint on the test, but just for the review purposes, I'm just reminding you how to get started. So graph the linear equations below. It says hint, put in slope-intercept form first. This form that we're given here isn't a form. It's not slope-intercept, it's not standard, it's not point slope. So to make sure I can graph this, I'm going to go ahead and put it in y equals mx plus b, my slope-intercept form, which means I have to solve the equation for y. So I want to get y all by itself. So I'm going to start by adding 10 to both sides. So I'm going to end up with 8y equals negative 2x plus 64. And then we can divide by 8. And I divide every term by 8. So y is going to equal negative 1 over 4x plus 8. Now I'm in y equals mx plus b. I have my y-intercept. This is my b. This is my m. So I can go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's my point here. That's my y-intercept. That's what we always begin. B stands for begin, remember? And now I'm going to graph my slope. I have a negative. So for my slope, if I have negative 1 over 4, I'm going to go down 1 and then over 4. So down 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4. And you should see that when you graph this, it will graph a negative slope for you. It's going to be going downhill. All right, so that takes care of those graphing questions, and we'll see you in the next one.